Welcome back to the Inequalities unit. Today we're going to be talking about solving inequalities that are impractical problems. Let's go ahead and get started with that right now. Now, before we get started with practical problems, there are some important vocabulary terms that we need to know. So you can see there in our chart we have less than or equal to, we have greater than or equal to, less than or greater than, and we have words that are associated with those symbols. So for example, less than or equal to, we're going to have less than or equal to, no more than, not exceeding. We're talking about greater than or equal to, we can have greater than or equal to, at least, the minimum. We have less than, we're going to be talking about things like less than, fewer than, or below. And we have greater than, we're going to be talking about greater than, more than, or exceeding. These are not the only vocabulary terms that you'll see to discuss these symbols in practical problems, but they're a good foundation for us to start with. Now let's take a look at example A. So here in example A, we need to solve this practical problem by writing an inequality and solving it. So it says Mrs. Smith charges us $30 per hour for tutoring service. So that's an important piece of information, that it's $30 per hour, plus a one-time fee of $10 for supplies. Again, important information. How many tutoring sessions can a student attend if the parent will spend at least $1,000? It's very important whenever we do these practical problems to focus on the at least, the more than, the greater than, because we need to know the sign. That is the most important thing to figure out in the practical problem. We have talked about how to make equations out of practical problems, and we know how to find the variable and how to find the constants. However, identifying the sign is the new thing that we're working with. So she charges $30 per hour, so we know that's per hour. We don't know how many hours, so that's going to be our variable. So we're going to have our variable as 30x, plus a one-time fee of $10, so plus 10. And then at least, so we need to determine, is at least going to be greater than, less than, greater than or equal to, less than or equal to. So in this instance, the parents want to spend at least $1,000, which means the amount of money that we need to have is either going to be $1,000 or more. So we're looking for our number to be greater than or equal to $1,000. That's the very important thing to figure out. Now that we've got that, we're going to draw our wall down from our inequality symbol. We're going to subtract 10 on both sides. When we do that, we're going to get 30x is greater than or equal to $990. Again, we didn't do anything by multiplying or dividing yet, so we're not going to be flipping our sign yet. Then we're going to divide both sides by 30. 30 divided by 30 is 1, or 1x. We didn't multiply or divide by a negative, so our sign is going to come down and stay the same. Then we do 990 divided by 30, which is 33. So our answer is it has to be at least 33 sessions. Remember, we're talking about a word problem, so we want to have a word answer. Then we're going to graph our number on our number line. So we're going to put 33 here because that's the number that we came up with. Greater than or equal to, so we're going to have a closed dot, and x is going to go to the right because that is where the numbers that are greater, so that's where we're going to draw our arrow. Now let's move on to example B. Here we are at example B, and it says Amanda ran 4 laps around the school track, so that's important. We've got numbers here. Cliff ran half as many as Brian, and together the 3 friends ran no more than 13 laps. Again, the no more than being the important part because we need to figure out how our inequality is going to work. So the first thing we're going to need to do is write out what we know. So Amanda has 4 laps. That's going to be a 4 plus, since we're going to be adding the number of laps together, Cliff ran half as many laps as Brian. We don't know what Brian ran, so that's going to be our x. Half of that is either written as 1/2 x, x over 2, or I'm going to use decimals, 0.5x. You can use whichever thing you like. We don't know how many laps Brian ran, so he's going to be added as just x. And as we see on our one side of our inequality, we have all 3 friends. We have Amanda at the 4, we have Cliff for the half, and we have Brian as the x. So we covered all 3 friends that are running laps. Now we need to put in our symbol, and it says they ran no more than 13 laps. So we have to have our number be less than or equal to 13. So our symbol is going to be less than or equal to, and the number we just talked about is 13. Now that we have our inequality, let's go ahead and solve. The first thing that we need to do is combine our like terms because our 0.5x and our 1x are the same thing. So we're going to bring down our 4. We didn't do anything with that. 0.5 plus x is going to be 1.5x. Bring down our inequality symbol. Bring down our 13. Now we're going to go ahead and draw our wall. We're going to get rid of our constant by subtracting 4 on both sides. 4 minus 4 is 0. Bring down our 1.5x. We didn't multiply or divide by a negative, so our sign stays the same. 13 minus 4 is going to be 9. And the last step of our inequality here is we're going to divide both sides by 1.5. Again, we didn't divide by a negative, so our sign is going to stay the same. These are going to cancel. Bring down our x. Sign stays the same. 9 divided by 1.5 is 6. And we know our final answer is x is less than or equal to 6 laps. Again, we've got a word problem, so we need a word answer. Then we can go ahead and graph that on our number line, put our 6 here. Whether we have an open dot or a closed dot, we take a look. We see our equal to sign, so we know we're going to have a closed dot. And then we're going to have less than, so the numbers to the less of 6, they're going to be to the left, so that's where we're going to draw our arrow. And let's move on to example C. Here we are at example C, and it says David currently has 22 baseball cards. That's important information that we're going to write. He has plans to buy 6 baseball cards per week. David's friend Albert, on the other hand, also has baseball cards. He has 4 baseball cards already, and he plans to buy 12 baseball cards a week. After how many weeks will David have more than Albert? So in this particular problem, that again is important information. We want more than here. It looks like we're going to be comparing David to Albert. So when we set up our inequality, we're going to have David on one side and we're going to have Albert on the other. So let's start with David and what we know about him. So on David's side of the inequality, we know that he has 22 baseball cards. And he plans to buy 6 a week, so that's 6x because we don't know how many weeks. On Albert's side of the inequality, we know that he has 4 baseball cards, and he plans to buy 12 a week. We don't know how many weeks, so 12x. Then we need to know which symbol we're going to be using. It says, when will David have more than Albert? So we want more than to be facing towards David, or the greater sign being towards David. Now that we have that all set up, we can go ahead and solve our equation. We're going to start by drawing our wall down from our inequality symbol. We've got variables on both sides, so we're going to have to move one of them. I'm going to do that by subtracting 6x on both sides. You can move the 12. It doesn't matter. Bring down the 22. Bring down the symbol. We didn't multiply or divide by a negative. Bring down our 4. 12 minus 6 is going to be 6x, so that's going to stay positive. Now we need to move our constant by subtracting 4 from both sides. Positive 4 and negative 4 are going to cancel. Bring down our 6x. 22 minus 4 is going to be 18. Bring down our sign. Again, we did not multiply or divide by a negative. And the last step is divide both sides by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1, or 1x. Bring down our sign. We didn't multiply or divide by a negative. And 18 divided by 6 is 3. And again, this is a word problem, so we need a word answer. So we're going to have 3 weeks. So what does this mean since it says x is less than 3? What that's telling us is as long as it's week number 1, number 2, or number 3, David is going to have more cards than Albert. But after that, weeks 4 and beyond, Albert's going to be getting more cards because he's buying 12 a week when David is only buying 6. So he's buying twice as many. So after the 3rd week, Albert's going to be having more cards. But weeks 1, 2, and 3, David will have more weeks. So we can go ahead and graph that on our number line below. So we're going to put our 3. Do we have an open dot or a closed dot? I see our symbol doesn't have an equal sign, so we're going to have an open dot. And then it says x is less than. The numbers that are less than 3 are to the left. So we're going to go ahead and draw our arrow to the left. Now let's take a look at practice number 1. Here we are at practice numbers 1 and 2. This video is going to work a little bit different than other videos that you've had. You're going to be doing numbers 1 and 2 on your own. You're going to bring them up to have them checked, and then once you have them correct, you're going to move on to the appropriate classwork. So that brings us to the end of this video. So if you like this video, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up. If you love this video, go ahead and throw us a sub, and we will catch you in the next one.